Everyone, this one is solve quadratic equation by factoring. Some people will say quadratic equation by factorization. Factorization is all the same. Just a reflex of what happened in the previous lesson. In addition to graphing, there is another additional ways to find the zeros or x-intercept of quadratic equation. Zero or x-intercept. To find the zero and x-intercept, they are all the same. Now, of quadratic equation, this section, we explore solving quadratic equation using the method of factorization, or we say factoring. A complete review of factoring can be found in the fundamental skills of algebra. That is, if you need supplementary review, you have this link here. You press this link, you have more of the information on it. Now, the review. Factoring is simply rewriting expressions in equivalent form. Rewriting expressions in equivalent form to ensure that the expression remains, or you have them in multiples form. To factor a quadratic, ensure that you have the quadratic in standard form. To have the quadratic in standard form, it has to be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. This is the quadratic term. This one is the linear one, and this is the constant. A quadratic expression must have a variable with a power of 2 for it to be quadratic. If there is no power of 2, it is not quadratic, and it cannot be more than 2. It has to have a power on the variable that is squared power. So we call this the square term. This is the x term, and this one is the constant. Now, to find it in standard form, you have to write the square term first, then you have the x term, then you have the constant, and you equate it to 0 for it to be a quadratic equation. If there is no equal to sign, it is not an equation. So the tips are there. Tips for factorizing quadratic equation. Check for the GCF, that is the greatest common factor. We call it also the highest common factor. Check to see if the quadratic equation, if the quadratic is difference of two squares or special binomial product. Difference of two square or special binomial products. You have what we call binomial products, like you have x minus 3. This is x plus, let's say, 4. This is what we call binomial products. Difference of two squares, if you have a quadratic equation of the form x squared minus 16, you know these are square numbers. So the square here is going to be x squared minus 4 squared. So difference of two square, you will have it like x minus 4, x plus 4. It's a product, you can derive it in either how. So let's go further. That is why we say special binomial is something of this nature. To check whether it's a difference of two squares, difference of squares, so you check it is something in this nature. Now we have the solve by factoring quadratic equation with GCF or HCF, highest common factor. We have an expression there, 3x squared plus 6x. That is an expression. And they tell you in factored form, it is 3x in bracket x plus 2. Now, how do we know this is right? How do we do it to get to this level? What do we say first? GCF. We look at the two terms that are there. We have 3x squared there, and we have another term, 6x. We look at their factors. The factors of the common factors between 3x squared and 6x. What are common? First, we look at the numbers. What are the factors in the numbers there? The coefficients, the factors of 3 and 6. Of course, we know the factors of 3 and 6. The factors of 3 and 6 will be 3 and 6. They are factors. You will have them 1 and 3. You have only these two factors for 3 and 6. What did it tell us? GCF or HCF. 1 and 3 which one is the highest or the greatest. The highest factor there is 3. So that is why 3 is taken as one of the factors. Now we look at the variable. We have the variable, they are the same. We take the variable with the smallest power. We have x squared and x. Which one has the smallest power? So you know x has the smallest power. So we take 3x. So now how to get this or the remaining form? We will use 3x to divide this one. And we divide this other one with 3x. Now if you go, you will have 3x squared. If you divide it by 3x as the greatest factor, what is the sign in between is plus. Then the next one is 6x divided by 3x. What do you have? If you divide that, you will have the 3x first as the factor. The first factor, then we get the next factors by doing it like this. If you look at 3x squared divided by 3x, you will have only x. 3 goes into itself, 1 into this, 3 is also 1. X squared divided by x squared is the same as x times x. If you divide x times x by x, you will have this x will cancel this one, then you have only x remaining. So what do we have from this term here is x. That is why we'll have to get the x here. Then the next term, you can see this is x, this is x. X can cancel straight. 6 divided by 3, you know that one definitely is just 2. Huh? So 6 divided by 3 is 2. This is why we have this thing factored form in this way. Huh? Now, if you look at this, to prove your answer very well, you always need to expand this. If you expand this, if it will give you the correction the way it is, then you know that you have factored it properly. But if you expand and it gives you a different thing, then your work is wrong. So you have to try it again. Because this expression here and the expression here are equivalent expressions. Huh? Then we look at another one. Because if you remember in the tips, we have HCF. And we also have difference of quadratic using difference of 2 squares. And we have, at the tips also, we have other special binomial products. Now, we'll go to the next one. That is x squared minus 64. X squared minus 64, as you see in the heading, is difference of squares. What is this difference of squares? The difference of squares, we have x squared minus 64. We have to look at these numbers because we say difference of square. X is a square number and 64 is a square number. So you can have this, as you see it, you have x squared minus, this will be 8 squared. Now if you factorize this, you'll have it in this form. You will have x, you have 8, then you also have to have x, you have another 8 here. So difference of 2 squares, hence it is quadratic. You know that you should have 2 values. So you'll have x, you have minus here, then you have plus here. In order for you to prove whether you are right or wrong, just expand this expression. It will return you to this level here. Now, as we go on, we will have more explanation on this in other ways. Now let's go to the quadratic trinomials. Trinomials, as I said, is an expression with 3 terms. Quadratic, it has to have the form of ax squared. The variable must have a power of 2. And the a, as we explained before, cannot be 0. So we have these 3 terms, and we call it trinomials. So why we call it quadratic trinomials? Because the variable has a power of 2. If you factorize this quadratic trinomial, it will give you in this form. That is x minus 9 into x minus 3. Now let's see how it happens. How do we have x minus 9 also into x minus 3? And if you factorize this, you will also have this in this form. In the slides coming, we will see how this is factorized. Huh? Now let's look at the practice of the factorizing these values. Let's go to this example here. to factor a quadratic trinomial of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, find two factors of c whose sum is b. When it is in the form of x squared plus bx plus c, you'll find two factors of c whose sum is b. Now, what do you mean by two factors of c? Two numbers that if you multiply them, you will have c, and if you add them, you will have b. We have this, for instance, you have an example here, x squared plus 9x plus 18. Now, looking at what the explanation given to you first, that is two factors of c whose sum is b. This is c, the constant value, the term without x, and b is the other term here with the x term. You have them here. If you look at this from this explanation, your c is 18 and your b there is 9. So you'll find two factors of 18 whose sum will give you 9, because your c is 18 and your b is 9. That is what you have here. We list the factors of 18. What are the factors of 18? Factors of 18 is two numbers. When you multiply them, they can give you 18, or numbers that can go into 18. So factors of 18, we have 1 and 18. We have 2 and 9. We also have 3 and 6. These are factors of 18. What are the other factors of 18? 18, when we multiply two numbers, will give us 18. Now, you can also understand that negative 1 times negative 18 is two factors of 18. Negative 2 times negative 9 are also factors of 18. Then you also know that negative 3 times negative 6 are factors of 18. Now we look at these factors that we have, whether their sum will give us 9. If you add 1 and 18, what is the sum of 1 and 18? That is 19. The sum of 2 and 9. The sum of 2 and 9, that will give us 11. Now the sum of 6 and 3. The sum of 6 and 3 will give us 9. We go to the next one. The sum of negative 1 and negative 18. The sum of negative 1 and negative 18 is negative 19. We look at the next one, the sum of negative 2 and negative 9. The sum of negative 2 and negative 9 is going to give us negative 11. The sum of negative 3 and negative 6 will also give us negative 9. Now, from the explanation above, you find factors of c whose sum will be b. If you look at the expression here, it's in that form. Your c is 18 and your b is 9. So we look at the two factors where if we get their sum, their sum will give us 9. What are these two factors? You can see you have only one set of the factors that will give you 9. And these are these ones here. These are the set of factors that if you find, you multiply them, the two factors, you'll have 18, and their sum, like if you add the two factors, it will give you 9. So that is what you need to do here. Later, if you do that, you replace them with in the place of b. You will have the expression x squared plus 9x plus 18. These two factors is what will take the place of 9 with their signs. What is the sign of 3 is positive, and the sign of 6 is also positive. So we will have x squared plus 3x plus 6x. Then you have plus 18. Now we have 4-term expression. What we do, we factorize it by grouping. We group the first 2 terms and group the other 2 terms and factorize. Now let's look at it. We'll have x here, the first 2 terms. What is common into the first 2 terms? You can see you have x squared and you have 3x. So what is common there is x. You have x, then x, if you say x squared divided by x, you will have only x left. Huh? That is x, then plus 3x divided by x, that will give you 3. Or you, in a short way, you can just say, hence you take out x, you can have only 3 left there. So you have 3. Then the next part here is this one. What are the common factors? The common factor is 6x and 18. The highest common factor will be what? You know, you have 6x here, here we have 18. So a variable cannot be a factor, hence the other one did not have a variable. So the common factor will be 6, because 6 can go into 18 without a remainder. So you will have 6x divided by 6, that will give you x. Then 18 divided by 6 will give you 3. At this point, you can see in the bracket you have the same thing. That is x plus 3 and x plus 3 at either side of the bracket. Now if you continue, you will take the numbers that you have outside the bracket. That is x plus 6 in one set of the bracket. Then you have the other one, only one of them, x plus 3. This you factorize a quadratic expression in the form of a trinomial quadratic expression like this. So this is the way we factorize this expression. Just a quick recap, you find factors of c whose sum will be b. In this case, factors of 18 whose sum will give us 9. Huh? So we go to the next one. Solve by factoring. It's a similar equation, or a similar expression. We have factor x squared plus 4x minus 12. Look for the factors of 12, negative 12, whose sum is 4. In other words, find 2 numbers that if you multiply will give you negative 12. Also, if you add the 2 numbers, you will have 4. That is what you need to do. Now, the other one, we list all the possible factors of 18 after we find the sum. We can do a similar thing here. But as you go, you realize this one will give you negative 12 and this will give you 4. You will only have one set of those factors. You cannot have it more than one. So let's look at the factors of negative 12, whose sum will be 4. Factors of negative 12, we start with negative 1 and 12. We can have negative 2 and 6. We can have negative 4 and 3, or the other way around. The other numbers becomes negative when the first one you write will be positive. It will also give you negative 12, like negative 12 and 1. And you have negative 6 and 2. You also can have negative 3 and 4. You just interchange the numbers. If you like, you leave the negative sign. So this will give us 12. Let's see if we add these factors, whether they can give us a sum of 4. Negative 1 plus 12, that will give you 11. Negative 2 plus 6, that will give you 4. Negative 4 plus 3, that will give you minus 1. Negative 12 plus 1 will give you minus 11. Negative 6 plus 2 will give you minus 4. And negative 3 plus 4 will give you 1. So you can see it's only one set of the factors that can give you that. Huh? This one here, negative 2 and 6. You take them, put it in the place of b, and you factorize the expression as we factorize the other one. How do we do that? What is our b there is 4. We replace negative 2 and positive 6 at that spot there. We'll have x squared minus 2x plus 6x minus 12. X squared minus 2x, that is this 2, then plus 6x, that is this 6 here. That is what takes the place of 4 there. Now we factorize it by grouping. The first two numbers, we group it, and we group this other one here. What is common to x squared and minus 2x? The common value of x squared and minus 2x. What is common to these two values? X squared and minus 2x, we have only the variable common. So when a variable is common, you take the variable with the lowest degree. That is x. Then inside you will have x minus 2. Similarly for this one, what is common to 6x and minus 12? That is plus 6. Then you have here also x minus 2. At this stage, if you reach this stage, you will be able to know that what you are doing is right. Because if you do not have things like this, in these two brackets, what should be there should be the same for you to know what you are doing is right. If it is different, there is something wrong somewhere. So you can have this now x, the numbers outside, then you have one of the brackets to find out whether your factorization is right. So this is what we do to factorize this. Now we go to the next one. Solve by factoring. The difference between this one here, this is an equation, and the other one that we were solving was an expression. We have an equals to sign here, and previously, if you look at, there is no equals to sign. It's just an expression. Now, if you go to the first slides, that the one that we started, it has it in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. The one that we just finished dealing with is in the form of x plus bx plus c. This is now equals to 0. If you look at this expression here, it is equated to 0. As we simplified it before, when we simplified it before, we have it in the form, I return it again, you see. All right, solve by factorizing. Factorize this one now and the one that we are doing previously, they have a different. This is an equation, and the other one was an expression. Because it has an equals to sign, it is called an equation. If I take you back a little, you look at this one, x squared plus 4x minus 12. That is where the expression ends. There is no equation for that one. So, but this one here, it has equals to 0. Now, we have previously in the beginning, you know that we said quadratic equation is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. We have another one just before. We have is in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. This is also equals to 0. Generally, this one will serve the purpose of all. A is not equals to 0 here. This one here, a is not equals to 0. In this one here, a is equals to 1. So the coefficient of the square term here is 1. So we are just giving you little difference so that it will be very easy for you. Now, we have this x squared plus 4x minus 12 is equals to 0. When we factorize the quadratic expression at this end, we get it as this. X plus 6, x minus 2 is the same expression. This expression here is what is extended to be an equation now. You always have to remember this is solved for you as x plus 6 and x minus 2. I'm not repeating that solution, but I'm just giving you, taking out the results for that solution. Now the results there is x plus 6, and you have x minus 2. This is equals to 0. This equation and this equation is the same. Look at it. Factor the trinomial, use the zero product. What is a zero product here? Zero product is, for instance, you have two numbers a, b is equals to 0. When you multiply two numbers and your result is 0, it's either one of the numbers is 0 or both the two numbers are 0. Huh? This is either a is equals to 0 or b is equals to 0. Here, if you look at this, our a is x plus 6, and our b is x minus 2. That is the zero product here. Then solve each simple equation. Now, how do we do that simple equation? How do we solve each of these simple equations? You have two expressions, x plus 6, x minus 2 equals to 0. Where are these simple equations from? This your a, as you have it, x plus 6 is equals to 0, is a simple equation. Then you have the other one, x minus 2 is equals to 0, is another simple equation. Now if you solve this, your x will be negative 6, x will be equals to negative 6, or your x here is 2. So these are the two values for the equation. When it is an equation, if you solve, you will have two values of x. X will be either negative 6 or 2, because it is a quadratic equation. Its highest degree is 2. So we go to the next slide. We see solve x squared plus 36 is equals to 12x. Solve x squared plus 36 is equals to 12x. Remember, the equation has to be written in the standard form. What is the standard form? Ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. That should be the equation. Huh? Ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. Look at this equation. Can we write this equation like that for it to be in the standard form? Yes, we can. We have to move this. Transpose it at the other side. Huh? That is x squared. We bring the 12 so that we'll have it in this form. If we transpose it, it becomes minus 12x plus 36 is equals to 0. That is the first thing you need to do first. Write it in the standard form. After you write it in the standard form, then you do the other tips that you are shown. To get this in the standard form, remember it should be ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. This one and this one is all the same. This one is just in the form of expression, and we have to write it in this form before we'll be able to factorize it. How do we write it in this form? We have to make sure this part is 0 here. And how do we make that 0? Is subtracting minus 12x from it, it becomes 0. So if that happens, you have to do the same thing at the other side of the equals to sign. So you will have minus 12x here. Here also you have minus 12x. So you will have x squared plus 36 minus 12x is equals to 12x minus 12x. You realize 12x minus 12x will be 0. Then we will have it now x squared plus 36 minus 12x is equals to 0 now. Do we have it in that form, in the standard form? What is the standard form? Ax squared plus bx plus c. Meaning the third term here should not get a variable. Which one is without a variable? That is what we put in the third place, in the third position. That is going to give you x squared plus the one with x is a negative one. So we cannot put plus. It's not this plus sign that we are going to bring in there. We are going to get the negative sign. So the negative 12 is what will come first. That is negative 12x plus 36 is equals to 0. Now if you look at it, it is in the standard form, in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. That is x squared minus 12x plus 36. A is 1, A is 1, B is negative 12, and C is 36. So you see it is in that form. Now, if you factorize this part of it, then you get the solution of the equation. How do we do that? The same thing that we learned before. Find two numbers that if you multiply will give you 36, and if you add, it will give you negative 12. You find two numbers that if you multiply, it will give you negative 6, and if you add, it will give you negative 12. Just like the way we are doing it when we are factorizing trinomials. We have it this way. We have factors of 36 here. Factors of 36, then we have the other one is a sum of minus 12. Two numbers, if multiplied, will give us 36, and if we add them, we'll have minus 12. Let's list the factors of 36, 1 and 36. The next one is 2 and 18. The next one is 3 and 12. The next factor of 36 is 4 and 9. And the other factors will be, you can have also negative factors, 4 and 9. Then let's look at the negative factors. Factors of 36. You have negative 1 and negative 36. You have negative 2 and negative 18. You have negative 3 and negative 12. You have negative 4 and negative 9. Let's look at their sum. If you add this, you will have 37. If you add this, you will have 20. The sum of 2 and 18. If you add this one also, you will have 15, 3 and 12. If you add 9 and 4, that will give you 13. If you add negative 1 and negative 36, that will give you negative 37. If you add negative 2 and negative 18, it will give you negative 20. If you add negative 3 and negative 12, that will give you negative 15. If you add negative 9 and negative 4, it will give you negative 13. If you look at this, you cannot see negative 12 there in the sum. We have negative 15, negative 20, negative 37, negative 37, 13, 15, and of course positive value. But we cannot get negative 12. How is it possible? And we are to factorize. Of course, there are factors. I think we did not exhaust the factors. Now we have to exhaust the factors. What factor is left? The one that is left is negative 6, and negative 6 is one of the factors that is left. And another factor that is left is 6 and 6 also. Now let's add this one. This, if we add, we have negative 12. This, if we add, we have just 12. So we should find factors of 36 whose sum are negative 12. You can see it's only one set of factors that can give you a sum of negative 12. That is this one here. So this is the one that will work for the equation. We substitute it in the place of negative 12 in the equation. The equation is x squared minus 12x plus 36 is equals to 0. And the two factors are negative 6 and negative 6. So you will have it x squared minus 6x minus 6x plus 36 is equals to 0. So we factorize them by grouping. That we factor out the first two set, and we factorize the other one. What is common in the first two set? If you look at it, it's x that is common there. So we will have x, then what is left? X into x squared will give you x, minus x into 6x is 6. What is common here also? You realize it's negative 6. So negative 6 into 6x is going to give you x. Negative 6 into positive 36, that will give you negative 6. This is equals to 0. We do the same thing as we did before. We'll have now x, the ones outside x minus 6, and we have also x minus 6. This is equals to 0. We take the 0 product from this. A times b is equals to 0 is either a is 0 or b is 0. So, but if you look at this, and the expressions are all the same. So you will have x minus 6 is equals to 0, or x minus 6 is equals to 0. Just take one of them and you put it there, it is twice of it. Huh? So you will have x is equals to 6 twice. Why is this? Because the expression is a perfect square. That is why you will have x is equals to 6 twice. So we go to the next one. When a does not equal 1, meaning in the equation form, that is ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. When this a is not 1, the coefficient of the square term is not 1. Check first for the GCF, then use the Berry method. Check first for the GCF, that is the greatest common factor, which is known as HCF, that is the highest common factor. So Berry method first, you find AC. What is AC? The product of this one and this one. AC is the same as A times C, which will give you AC. Find pair of numbers, that is m and n, meaning you should find two numbers, m and n, whose product is AC. If you multiply the two numbers, you have AC, and whose sum is B. Step 3, create the products in this form. AX plus m and AX plus n. Then the last one, from each binomial, step 3, from each binomial, factor out and discard any common factor. The result is factored form. Huh? If you factor out any common factor, that is what is called the factored form. Now this is another equation, 8y squared plus 2y is equals to 3. Because there is a square on the variable, it is a quadratic equation. Now, from the explanation, from the last slide, when a does not equals 1, you can look at this, the square term, the coefficient is not 1. That is what it means. Now, the quadratic equation should be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. This is the standard form of the quadratic equation. Now, we look at what will happen with these 3 here. We have 8y squared plus 2y is equals to 3. It is not in that form, but we have to take it in that form by transposing these 3. What is the sign for 3 here? It is positive. When we transpose, the sign changes. So that is what will happen. That's what happens here. We transpose the 3. That is why the sign changes. So you will have it 8y squared plus 2y minus 3 is equals to 0. You have them now in this form. Ax squared plus bx plus c. Remember the procedures you are asked to take. The procedures are: first, calculate AC, find pair of numbers m and n, whose product will be AC and sum is b, the product of the numbers. then get it this way. Then let's apply that here. What is the value of A? What is the value of B? And what is the value of C as you see it there? The value of A, you can see is 8. B is 2, and C is -3. Just compare the equation. This is A, the coefficient of the square term. B is the coefficient of the x term, and C is the constant. So that is what you have here. Then if you step 1 AC. AC here is when you multiply the coefficient of the square term and the constant. This is what you are seeing, A dot C, it means A times C. That will give you -24. That is 8 times -3. That is what is giving you -24. Step 2, find the two numbers, M and N, whose product will be AC and whose sum will be B. The way we do it before in the previous slides, like this, you can be able to find it. So you first find factors of 24, and we put here sum of 2, because AC is 24, and the sum that is B is +2. -24, AC is -24, sorry, and B is 2. Now that is the numbers there. The factors are -4 and 6. So factors of -24, that will give you a sum of 2, is -4 and 6. Then you go, you substitute them. They are telling you M is equals to -4 and N is equals to 6. It does not matter. It can happen the other way around. M can be 4 and N can be M can be 6 and N can be -4. So we get the last step, the next step is step 3. Look at the way it is happening. If you go back, it's the same thing that is returning. AX plus M and AX plus N. So let's look at it there. That is the same thing, AX plus M, AX plus N. What is the value of A? The value of A is 8. What is the value of M? The value of M is -4. So that is what we substitute in this one. The same thing, the value of A, which is 8, and the value of N is 6. So that is what you substitute here, which is what we have here. You have A as 8y, A as 8. This x is just the variable of the quadratic equation. Now the one that is giving is here AX plus BX plus C. This is a sample of quadratic equation. But here the variable of the quadratic equation is in y. That is why you have to write it as 8y. You cannot leave there x. But if the equation is given to you, the variable is x, that is the time you leave x. If the variable is c, you have to take c. If the variable is a, you have to take a. Huh? Then this is what happens. Let's look at the next step. The next step, I'll go back again. That is step 4. From each binomial in step 3, factor out and discard any common factor. Let's look at that. Discard common factors. Do we have common factors 8 and 4? We have. What are the common factors? We discard them. Like a factor, a number that can go into 8 without a remainder, and a number that can go into -4 without a remainder. There are 4. Here is 4. 4 divided by 8 is going to give you 2y. The same thing, we discard the factors. Similarly here. Here the factor is 2. We have to discard that one also. So we go to the next. We have another one, 4x squared plus, 4x squared minus 15x. All right, here we have to equate this one to 0. because the correction tells us to solve. So we have to equate this. Then if we have to simplify the last step, that is step 4, to simplify. This discard and simplify is all the same. So we look for a factor of 8 and 4, the highest factor of 8 and 4. Like 8 and 4, the highest factor is 4. Then you have 4 goes into 8 is 2 times. This is why we have 2y. Minus 4 into itself is 1. So similarly here, the common factor is 2. We look at step 3. Let's go back a little on step 3. You have to create it in this form, ax plus m and ax plus m. So we go back. As we have our a as 8, we put 8 in the place of a. And we have our m as -4, and we have our n as 6. So we substitute the value there as it is. Now, how do we do that? If you look at this one here, as we have it here, our equation is not in x as a variable. Our equation is in y. So this will be ay plus m, and you have a y plus n, because the equation is giving in y. Huh? Then we look at the substitution now. 8 is substituted in the place of a, as it is given to you here. A is equals to 8, b is equals to 2, and c is -3, and you have m equals to 4, n equals to 6. So this is why we have 8y minus 4, because m is 4. That is negative. M is negative. That is why it comes with this. Then the other one, you have 8y plus 6, because n is positive. Now, the next step, if we go back, the next step is, if you create this, they say from each binomial in step 3, that is what you did in step 3, factor out and discard any common factor. That will go to step 4. From each binomial, this is a binomial, this is also a binomial. Two-term expressions are called binomials. Now, from each binomial, factor out and discard the common factor. Now, how is that going to work? Since it is solved and it is given to you as an equation, it is equals to 0. Here also it's equals to 0. Because you are asked to solve, you have to find the zeros. Now, how do you do that? If you are to find the common factor here, and here also you find the common factor, you discard them. How possible you discard this common factor? First, look at the first binomial where you have 8y minus 4, and you have also 8y plus 6. What is the common factor here? Equals to 0. What is the common factor here? The common factor here is 4. So we will have 4 in bracket. You have 2y minus 1. What is the common factor here? The common factor is 2. Then you have in bracket, you have 4y plus 3. This is equals to 0. We can multiply this, 4 and 2. We will have it as 8. In bracket, you have 2y minus 1. Then you have 4y plus 3 is equals to 0. It's easy to discard it now. When we divide both sides by 8, we realize we'll have just, if we divide here by 8 and divide here by 8, it will take off itself. So then we'll have 2y minus 1, 4y plus 3 is equals to 0. This is what happens in step 4. That is why you are asked to discard the common factor. Now, from here, you can even end the solution of the equation. If you equate this to 0, apply the 0 product property. So you do that. That is, if you equate this to 0, or you equate here also the same way. So I will take this one because this is the simplified one. It will be easier with this one. So you will have 2y. Let me put it. I just want to get another page. Huh? You have 2y minus 1, then you have 4y, let me see, 4y plus 3, yeah? 4y plus 3 is equals to 0. So you set each of them to 0. That is going to be 2y minus 1 is equals to 0, or 4y plus 3 is equals to 0. You can solve for the value of y here. Here also you solve for the value of y. So this will be y is equals to 1 over 2 here, or y is equals to negative 3 over 4. This is the value of, this is the way you solve this equation. Y is, therefore, y is equals to 1 over 2 or negative 3 over 4. So this is the way we solve this. We have another equation. The equation is 4x squared minus 15x minus 25 is equals to 0. Continuation. They say if a does not equals 1. What is a? When you have the equation, the general formula is ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. When a is not equals to 1, meaning a is more than 1. It cannot be 0. A is more than 1 or a is less than 0. Huh? It can also be negative, but it cannot be 0. Now what you will do, you apply the Berry method. The same procedures that we learned previously is what we apply to solve this. First, we look whether it is in standard form. Is it in standard form? Is it in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c? Yes, by looking you can tell it is in standard form. Huh? Now we go to the next level. So we find the values of a. Looking at the equation, it is in standard form. A is 4, b is negative 15, and c is negative 5. AC is a times c. You will have your a as 4 times your c as negative 25. So 4 times negative 25 is what gives you negative 100. Huh? So the next you find m and n. What is this m and n? Two numbers whose product will be AC and whose sum will be B. Two numbers, if you multiply them, they will give you negative 100. That is AC, and whose sum, if you add, you will have negative B, that is negative 15. A product of 100 and a sum of negative 15. So that is M and N. If you look at them, they are here 5 and negative 20. 5 times negative 20 is going to give you negative 100. 5 plus negative 20 is going to give you negative 15. So that is step 2. The next step, AX plus M and AX plus N. A is 4. That is, then you have 4x there. Then the next one, let me just write these steps down. AX plus M, AX plus N. This is the third step. So your A is 4, and the equation is in X. So this is why you have 4x plus 5, your M is 5. And your N is negative 20. So your N is negative, that is why you will have 4x minus 20. So this is an equation. You go to the next step. There is no common factor in the first one, in the first binomial. But if you go to the next one, there is a common factor. The common factor there is 4 and negative 20. What is the common factor? The highest one is negative. The highest one is 4. So 4 into itself is going to be 1. Then 4 into minus 20 will give you negative 5. This is why you have 4x plus 5 in bracket, another multiplied by x minus 5. So the other factor is discarded. Huh? That is step 4. So later you set it to 0 and get the values of x, like you have it here. X minus 5 is equals to 0, or 4x plus 5 is equals to 0. x is equals to 5 or minus 5 over 4. So this is the way we solve this. This is the very method of solving quadratic equation where a is not 1. Where a is not 1 or does not equals 1. So you have similar examples. Always refer yourself to textbook and always look at what people are telling you and refer yourself to your teachers, and you get the rest of the thing if you need.